All right, welcome back to the Dolphins Country podcast. Today we have an awesome episode for you guys. Today we are joined by Josh Moser, a sports anchor, journalist in the Miami-based area. He is in the locker room with the players. He's on the field. He's watching these games. He has an inside look as to what's going on. So we are really pleased to join him. We have a great conversation to talk about what the heck went wrong on Sunday for the Dolphins against the Colts, and is this fixable? I mean, what's going on? What's going to happen moving forward? And we talk about the first month of the season, what the possible outlook could be if the results are not there. And then the second part of this podcast, we are joined in by just a fan. I picked a fan to come talk ball with and see what's the temperature check just on the average fan's standpoint after one game. Obviously, we know we only have one game to go off of, but it was not a very good showing. What's the temperature check like? Is this doom and gloom? Is this season already over before it's even started? So we talk about that with Jefferson, who I bring in. And overall, just a really good episode that we have in store for you guys. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the Dolphins Country podcast. And today we are joined by a special guest, Josh Moser, a big sports anchor, sports journalist down here in the South Florida area. So, Josh, welcome on the podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. So obviously, tough game on Sunday. The Dolphins dropped a 33-8 loss to the Colts. I mean, even the Dolphins, the non-optimists, I don't think that we perceived a 33-8 beatdown to the Colts coming. I mean, obviously, there's been some question marks with the team heading into the season, but I don't think any of us anticipated that. So just quick reaction. What were your overall thoughts on the game yesterday? Because nothing really went, or not yesterday, Sunday. Nothing really went well. Nothing really went well for Miami. No one played well, which is, you really say that, but what was your initial thoughts?
Right. I mean, from a talent perspective, if you look at the two rosters, this is a game that the Dolphins should have won, even though this was on the road. Right. Say whatever you want about the Colts being fired up with their owner, Jim Irsay, passing away. Right. They had the big honoring him at halftime. You had all of the Colts greats in the building, including Peyton Manning. But this was the season where the Dolphins were supposed to take a step, especially with the way that Tua ended last year after he became healthy. This is a year in which Mike McDaniel is now year 4, where he was supposed to answer the questions of could he create a counter to defensive coordinators figuring out the first read. And you bring back Anthony Weaver, who was a head coaching candidate for the Saints. And Mike McDaniel finally gets a DC back for a second season. So you have all of the pieces there. Then you have a healthy Bradley Chubb. You have a healthy Jalen Phillips. And you arguably have top 5 front 7 in the game. And you get 1 sack and you make Daniel Jones look like Joe Montana. And you have put up 400 yards of offense against your defense. It was completely unexpected. Completely undisciplined from the team. It was honestly maybe the best word. It was embarrassing.
I was just going to use that word. Yeah.
I'm not even saying from an optimistic standpoint from the fan base of, hey, this is just one game. It was the way in which they lost. And when I talked to the players in the locker room afterwards, it's just they were chasing plays. They weren't sticking to the scheme. And we're talking about things that we see a little bit in college, but mainly in high school. Right. And again, you have all offseason to prepare for this one game in Daniel Jones. Yeah. And you knew weeks in advance that it was not going to be Anthony Richardson. And just more importantly, offensively, you have Tyreek Hill healthy. You have Jalen Waddle healthy. I understand Darren Waller wasn't there as a tight end, but you're really not using a tight end in this offense anyway. That's why they let Jonnu Smith
go.
He put up the best record numbers for a tight end a single season last year. Devon Achane is healthy. I mean, if it wasn't for him running over the defender on a crazy 4th down play.
A swing pass. Yeah,
this team wouldn't have been on the board.
Blanked. Yeah, we would have been blanked in game 1. I know. Yeah.
And you bring a kicker in, elevate him off the practice squad. You waste him. You don't even use him.
He wasn't used. No.
Because you only get to elevate him 3 times. It was almost one of those scenarios of like what could go wrong went wrong.
Did go wrong.
And really, to lose Storm Duck, who was arguably your best corner on the roster, was its own issue.
Low bar, right? Yeah.
And then you've got James Daniels, who you paid, the 3-year, $24 million contract to come in and to be that guard. He's out.
4 snaps in.
Austin Jackson, who was hurt again. Now we got the toe issue. So right now you've got Keon Smith and Larry Borum basically going to start here.
They bring Cole Strange in off the practice squad. They just picked him up now, so it is makeshift.
Yeah. Strange is going to be, we'll call it a strange move. Like, he's not going to play right away.
No pun
obviously.
Intended, sure.
First round talent. I get it, but to go pick up guys off the street right now, they're not going to help you. Rasul Douglas, they did that, and he dropped an interception.
Yeah,
and Minka Fitzpatrick, who you brought in, I understand you wanted out, didn't really flash at all. Jordan Brooks, captain, former first-round pick, saying all the right things. Not much on tape. Terrell Dodson, awful tape.
That tape was bad.
Horrible. So, the only positive that I can take away is that this is just one loss, and there's 16 other games. But I really, truly believe is if they come out this next week in this home opener against the Patriots and they perform like this, I think the leash gets very short for not only Mike McDaniel, but for Chris Greer, because then you're going to a Buffalo game on a short
week in Buffalo.
And you start 0-3. It could be decision-making time. Maybe the next decision would be after that other Thursday night game, it's Baltimore, and then it would be the bye week with Cincinnati.
Right.
But I was talking with a bunch of people. This should have been a 3-1 start. And now you're looking at 2-2 at best. And if you look down the line, I understand injuries can happen and we don't know. But that middle stretch of the schedule after the bye week, it gets brutal. And you're talking about competing in the AFC. I mean, if anybody watched that Bills-Ravens game, I understand Buffalo came back and won in crazy fashion. The Dolphins are nowhere near that. So you're going to have to go through them. You're still going to have to go through the Chiefs. The Chargers are improved.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's scoring. Hey, Pittsburgh's scoring points now.
Yeah. The Jets, honestly, they look good. They played for Aaron Glenn. This team did not play for Mike McDaniel. And all of the questions that we said in the offseason of if these questions get answered, this Dolphins team will win. And right now, they did not answer a single question in week one, raising more questions now for the home opener.
They might have confirmed other questions that we had about the team about what's the corner room look like? Is the offensive line healthy? They may have actually created more questions is what they actually might have done. So I was actually going to get into that. Yeah, the James Daniels injury happens 4 plays in. So we, Dolphins fans here, we never are really, we don't get healthy offensive lines much. Armstead's in and out of the lineup last year. Now he retires. It's Patrick Paul's time. Austin Jackson got injured last year. He's kind of bounced around with injuries himself. Eichenberg's been in and out of the lineup. He's obviously injured to start the year. So we've dealt with injuries before on the offensive line, and I was just hoping, not even optimistically, because I had kind of had low expectations for the team heading into the year because of the question marks that you just outlined and that were all on tape on Sunday. But James Daniels, their prized possession they bring in Larry Borum to be the swing tackle, but James Daniels was their guy. It's like, okay, we got to fix the interior of the offensive line. So they bring in James Daniels, and unfortunately 4 snaps in, a guy who has had injury histories in the past. He had an injury last year in Pittsburgh. So it's unfortunate this happens, but it just feels very Dolphins that 4 plays in of a drive that was, kind of, they passed midfield. That's the only data we have of the healthy offensive line together was 4 plays. And they got past midfield, and then he went down, and then 2 threw the pick 2 plays later. So very unfortunate stuff. Do I just chalk it up to unfortunate, or do I just say, hey, I have 15 years of unfortunate things that happen to the Dolphins now, and unfortunately, it's no longer a coincidence because this seems to keep happening to one team. As far as the offensive line goes, there's obviously other things that you mentioned that we can get into, but I thought the strength of the football team, this is what I was told, was the defensive line. This is the first time ever that Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb are on the field at the same time together. They played briefly in the preseason against Jacksonville, but as far as the regular season, Chubb missed all of last year. Jalen Phillips basically missed all of last year, was out in week 3 or 4 against Tennessee and had to miss the season. Chop Robinson had a really nice rookie season, so we figure, okay, at least we'll be able to get after the quarterback. That might be able to mask the secondary. We can maybe mitigate some of the back end. If we can just get to the quarterback immediately, we can beat some teams, especially like the Colts, who talent level, like you mentioned, we should be able to beat the Colts if we are who we think we are. The problem was we couldn't even sniff Daniel Jones. 1 sack, like you mentioned, I think Chubb got to him and actually got held in the process. But other than that, we couldn't really get to him at all with 4, which is super concerning, considering I figured that was the strength of the football team. And if we're not getting to the quarterback with 4, there's no chance the secondary has of. We didn't think they'd be good anyways. But a rough week 1 showing on tape was what was the most concerning part to you thought? Because everything on tape was bad. I mean, like you said, outside of Devon Achane, we weren't even going to score. this is going to be a 33-0 beatdown. So what was the most concerning part to you?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to go back, and it's just you've got players lined up in the wrong spots, and you're not calling out protections on the offensive line to a guy.
They won stuff. They won stuff. Just yeah.
So it's we're making, we'll call them uncharacteristic mistakes, or we're making bonehead mistakes that shouldn't happen. Now the question is, why are those mistakes being made? And is that on the coaching staff by not getting the players ready? Is that on the talent level in the room? Is that on players not listening to the coaches and wanting to do their own thing because they feel that that is a better decision? And those are the questions that need to get answered. And, they'll keep that internally. But right now we saw a team that was not together. We saw a team completely underperform. And, I'm sick of the motto of, they talk, we do. Like, we didn't see this team do anything. We saw, we're on this 11-day road trip. We're going to bond during training camp and we're going to do all of these right things. But the reality is you've got to win on Sundays. And your star players did nothing. Crazy stat. I mean, the last time Tyreek Hill had a 30-yard catch was week one against the Jaguars.
Yeah, 1 year ago to Sunday.
Right. And look, whatever Tyreek's got going on off the field, like, he's always had that. So, like, that coming in. Jalen Waddle was reportedly in the best physical shape that he's ever been in professionally and comes out. I mean, you can't have him catching 4 passes. He had 2 touchdowns last year. Like, you paid this guy to be a number 1 receiver, and you got to figure out a way to get him the ball. And that little, underneath route over the middle, going to get him killed. And great, you move the sticks, but you have to get your offense going vertically. But as we mentioned, with Daniels going down, the idea is you're going to have to get the ball out quickly in the offense. So that's not going to give your guys time to run down the field. So this, to me, is on Mike McDaniel now. And if you're the play caller, everyone believes you to be, show me. Because when you had the number 1 offense in the league in 2023, you were number 1 in the run. And right now, we're not seeing that. 2024, everyone, quote unquote, figured you out.
Too high look, and they made them run the ball, and they couldn't do it. It was just,
and then so then what's your counter? You had all off season
6 months to counter this,
to figure it out. And I'm thinking, this is just my personal opinion, is when you're down 20-0 at halftime, like, you're not going to pull out any stops. Like, you're kind of going to take the L, and you're probably going to save a couple bullets in the chamber. And that's why I'm very curious to see what's going to happen this Sunday.
Exactly.
And they need to respond. We're going into the locker room tomorrow. We're going to see what the players say. And but frankly, like, I'm sick of the talk. Like, it's time. And you're in year 4 of Mike McDaniel. You're in year 6 of Tua. You have all of your pieces, they're healthy for the most part. And it's time to put up or shut up. And, you've got 3 divisional opponents here. You're going to play the whole division back to back to back to back.
3 straight weeks. Yep.
And we'll know. And honestly, I thought the Jets looked really good.
They did.
Even though they lost the Steelers, they looked better than I thought. Vrabel obviously is really good against the Dolphins when he was at Tennessee. I want to say that he's like 4-0.
Yeah.
And I understand it's a new look team up there. You got a new quarterback, but that team played for him, even though they lost to the Raiders. So on paper, you're better than the Jets. You're better than the Patriots. The Bills are a tall task on a short week going on the road. Regardless of talent or teams, the road team on a Thursday night football game loses 75% of the time.
Very tough to win. Yeah.
Fans watching that one, hey, maybe that's the game it all comes together. But I mean, you start 0-3, it's going to be a lot more serious questions, and we'll see if Stephen Ross what he decides to do.
Yeah, it looked like a team, not to go back, but it looked like a team that had 6 months to prepare and didn't prepare at all. It looked like they didn't get off the plane, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, it was, you talked about the guys not really knowing what's going on. It did not look like a team that actually prepared for the Colts for 6 months. I mean, the schedule came out in May, guys. We knew who we were playing week 1, and you mentioned we knew a month before the season started who the quarterback would be. So this was not, and I get defenses generally are ahead of offenses at this point in time. There's a lot of offenses that struggled yesterday, but for us to essentially get blanked by the Colts, who ranked 29th in defense last year, that's never supposed to happen. Regardless, that's never supposed to happen. But yeah, to get to this Sunday's game against the Patriots, because we usually always beat the Patriots early season in September when it's hot. Now, vice versa, we always struggle usually late season cold weather in Foxborough, but we usually take care of them in our home in Hard Rock, especially when it's early season. This is September football, and Miami's very hot in September if no one's known. So usually we take care of them. So if we beat New England, it shouldn't be the tone shouldn't change as to point. Okay, the Dolphins are back. That should be an expected win. Now you mentioned Mike Vrabel. I said this before the season started. I'm worried when Mike Vrabel comes back into our division now because I was worried anytime Mike Vrabel played against us because I just felt like his teams are always the more physical, tougher football team, and that was before we even had Mike McDaniel. Now, obviously, on Monday Night Football, they beat us, and that was kind of the start of this whole deterioration of the team. But he beat us whenever we had Brian Flores and whatever. So I've always felt like Mike Vrabel coach teams are the tougher, more physical team, and especially with us who call it what you want, but teams around the league have called us soft. And Mike Vrabel teams are not soft. They're anything but. So those are teams that are going to punch you in the mouth, and how do you respond? So I'm very interested to see, especially with people's jobs on the line this season, what do they look like on Sunday against Mike Vrabel and the Patriots? Because this is you don't want to call any game a must-win this early in the season, but you highlighted the Thursday night game short week against Buffalo. They haven't won in Buffalo since 2016. So why would I assume they'd win it this time? If they lose to New England at 0-2, you're staring at 0-3. And at 0-3, it's so tough to dig yourself out of an 0-3 hole. I mean, Cincinnati put themselves in an 0-3 hole last year. They couldn't even dig themselves out. And I'm not so sure that we're on par with that team as far as it's just a tough task. If you're losing to the Colts and the Patriots off the jump, you're in for a long season, probably. So yeah, this game against Sunday is not a must-win, but almost a must-win. It's as must-win as a September game can be against a team that you should be better than, with a quarterback who looked a little shaky, who hasn't even played a full season of football yet in Drake May. I like Drake May, but he hasn't even played 16 games yet. So we don't even have a full season of film on the guy. And obviously Miami did beat New England pretty badly last year when Drake May and the Patriots came down to Miami. So you would hope that they can get right there. But you mentioned it almost can't be any worse than this. This feels like rock bottom. McDaniel said it, I think, earlier today or yesterday at the podium. He said, it can't get much worse than this, which is a glass half full way of thinking, but it literally could not get much worse than this. You lose to the Colts, and the Colts, by the way, I think this is the first time it's ever happened. Daniel Jones scored on every single drive they went 7 for 7 on scoring drives. They punted once, and we ran into the punter. So they literally scored on every single drive, which is very concerning for a defense that believes in their front four at least. I mean, you can question the back end, whatever, but to give up a scoring drive on every single drive to the Colts, who don't have you're not facing Josh Allen, you're not facing Patrick Mahomes. This is not like the most daunting skill group in the world in Indianapolis. So that was very concerning. I would like to think they beat New England on Sunday, but what are your overall thoughts on that game in Miami this week?
I want to see a team that comes out and believes, and I want to see a team that plays with effort. This is your house, regardless of what happens. You have to protect it, as cliche as that sounds. If you're going to come out here and be flat, at this point, what's the point? And you can sense Tyreek Hill's frustration.
Right.
McDaniel saying that players were in the wrong spots. That's why he couldn't get the ball. I love the candor. I love the honesty, but these are mistakes that should not be happening. And, honestly, though, Mike, it's more of if they win, I won't be surprised. If they get blown out by 2 touchdowns, I'm not going to be surprised either. Because
either way, yep.
I don't know what team is going to show up on Sunday. And as a fan or as a journalist that covers the team, it's fun, because you knew that there was going to be a roller coaster.
Yes.
And, the question is how does this team respond? And again, I want to see these questions answered. So, yeah, I agree with you at saying this is about as must-win of a September game as you can have.
Yeah.
But you get to 0-3, it's scary hours. And I think at that point, you really have to start considering making sweeping changes.
Yeah, I can compare it to, just to wrap up, I can compare it probably to the Joe Philbin era. I believe that was the year, it was a year after we signed Ndamukong Suh, or maybe it was the year after we signed Ndamukong Suh, where it's okay, the Dolphins should be competing now. And we started off really poor. I believe we were 1-3 that year. We went up to London and got destroyed by the Jets. I believe it was 28-0. And then they fired Joe Philbin. And that's when, of course, famously the interim was Dan Campbell. That year,
they played for him.
They played for him. They had a nice. It played for the interim. It's tough to remove that interim tag from everyone, as we know. And he didn't get the head coaching job. Adam Gase ended up getting it. But if you start 1-3. We started 1-3 that year, and we fired Joe Philbin and said, okay, we got to get this ball moving again. So we were hoping for at least a 3-1 start, considering you get Colts, Patriots, and Jets, three quarterbacks in Daniel Jones, Drake May, and Justin Fields. That you would think that this defense, this front four, should get after them, and maybe you can win those home games, and then against the Colts, you just have better players than them. Really, didn't see it on Sunday, but like even as a Dolphins, even if you're a pessimist, I mean, there's a lot of Dolphins optimists out there that are saying, hey, it's only one game, and I got this comment in the middle of the Bills game. It looked like the Bills were going to lose. They were like, hey, I know everyone's like doom and gloom, but the whole division might be 0-1, and I was like, all right, see, here's the thing. It's not losing one game, because in the grand scheme of things, it is just one game. I think we all get that. But the way you looked, the fact that it looked like you didn't even get off the bus. Generally, it literally did not look like you even got off the plane to play this game on Sunday. That is concerning in a year that is so important for people's jobs. In week one, if your job is on the line and your team gets blown out by the Colts, who are not projected to do anything really this year, maybe we'll be wrong, but that's not a good opening statement in a year that's so big. Obviously, year 4 of McDaniel, year 3 obviously didn't go very well. You can chalk it up to injuries, personnel, whatever. But it seemed like teams figured out the offense, at least the big play offense, because the big play offense, we didn't have any. Outside of week 1 in Jacksonville, there was no big plays last year, really, offensively. It took a big step back in explosive plays. So in a week 1 game where you really didn't do anything, that's not a great start to a year that's so important, which means the accelerated clock now is here. So in the first month, if we don't get the results, unfortunately, changes will be made. This is how the NFL works. If you start poorly, and there's a trend in the direction that it looks like it's going to go in, you don't sit around and wait for the whole season. Generally, you usually make a move and say, okay, maybe we'll get some spark here or there, whatever. But this is not a good start to the season. I think we can both agree on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but thanks, Josh, for hopping on and giving us some time today. This is much appreciated. I love getting insight from people who are actually there on the they're getting the sights and sounds of NFL game days, because obviously us as fans and even us as critics of the team or analyzing the game, it's tough to gauge really what's going on. Like I say, I'll tell my fans this all the time. Like, I know as much as you as far as like what's going to happen on Sunday. At least the games that to play, we'll find out what happens on Sunday, and then we'll react to it. We'll break down tape and the whole 9 yards. But I just appreciate you for hopping on and giving us some of your time today.
Of course, man. Anytime.
All right, appreciate it, Josh. All right, welcome back to the Dolphins Country podcast. We are recording this a day after the Dolphins' humbling, humiliating loss yesterday to the Colts. It was rough. Today, I'm welcomed by Jefferson Wembus, I believe. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
all right. I was just okay. Fellow Dolphins fan. So we're just going to talk, briefly here about what the heck happened yesterday, and is this a week 1 overreaction? Is this signs of things to come? Is the team just flat out bad, which is entirely possible too? So we're gonna get into that today. But yeah, so overall, what were your thoughts on the game yesterday? Did you think it'd be that bad? I mean, because even I'm not the biggest optimistic guy in the world. I didn't think the team would be that good this year, but I did not expect it to be a flat out bludgeoning where the Colts score on all 7 drives. Did you think that was gonna happen today or yesterday?
No, kind of had like the same opinion actually. I didn't think. I mean, I knew the team was gonna be not that good. I didn't expect a blowout to the Colts
No.
to the Colts at all. Especially like Daniel Jones just tearing us up completely.
Right.
It's something that was unexpected. The defense looked atrocious. Offense couldn't get anything going. I think we're in for like a long, painful season.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, because even the areas where you would think the Dolphins would be good at, like from what we were told, is that the D line will be good. You get Chop Robinson, you get Zach Sealer, you get Bradley Chubb, you get Jalen Phillips back, you draft Kenneth Grant in round 1. So the strength of the team was supposed to be the defensive line, and I didn't see any of that yesterday. I mean, they didn't get to Daniel Jones, but I think one time when Chubb got home with a sack, but outside of that, they really couldn't even touch him. So it's tough to play any quarterback with a clean pocket, and Daniel Jones had all the time in the world yesterday to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And even below average quarterbacks can beat you and make you look bad if they have all the time in the world, because it was essentially 7-on-7. I mean, there was no one really getting to him. And then offensively, that was my biggest surprise, because I think we all kind of knew. It's like, okay, the corners aren't great this year for the Dolphins. That was well documented, is that we didn't really have any corners that anyone really believed in. And, teams could certainly throw on us, no doubt about that. But I think the most scary part was that the offense couldn't do anything. Like the first three drives was a interception, fumble, punt, and then another interception. That was the first 4 drives. So, and this Colts defense was ranked 29th last year in total defense. So this was supposed to be, if we were going to lose, maybe it'd be like 31-30. It'd be a high scoring game. But no, we didn't score really. We scored 8 points, but it was on the garbage time, late, where the game's already over at that point. So it's like we basically got shut out. We basically got shut out. So why couldn't the offense get anything going? Like what happened? From what we were told is that we should be better. McDaniel, this is now year 3 with him and Tua. Like, what is going on here? This is actually year 4 with him and Tua, I believe, or maybe it is year 3 or 4. Either way, see, I can't even. I don't remember if it's year 3 or 4 with. No, this is year 4. Okay, yeah, because 2022 was his first year with Tua. Then 2023 we were great. Last year was injury riddled, and now we're starting off on a bad note. So what the heck happened offensively to where we couldn't even move the ball against the Colts?
I think it all starts. I mean, I think it all starts probably like in the locker room, the staff, the coaching, all around. Throughout the off season, we were getting we weren't getting like really any positive news.
No, it's very negative. Yeah,
Injuries started piling up like throughout July, August. Um, all of that just was shown really in this game. There's no chemistry on this team, I believe. There's probably going to be some trades done like very early into the season.
yeah.
And people are calling for like McDaniels to be fired, which is probably going to happen
At this point, probably. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you don't want to like overreact fully to week 1, but I mean, we only have one game to go off of right now, and like you mentioned, it looked like they didn't even get off the plane. Like, it literally did not even look like they were thrown out there. It looked like they did not know what was going on. You can mention chemistry in the locker room. It literally just looked like a bunch of players out there on the field. It did not look like a team at all. I mean, there was nothing that they do. No one did anything well. It's not like, oh, they lost because this happened, and it's like this guy played well. Like, really, nobody played well, which is like, you rarely say that, because the NFL is often like a very, winning and losing, it's so close, because often all these games come down to a field goal or whatever, a couple missed plays here and there. But this game was never close, and no one on Miami played well, which is really concerning, because it's not like, oh, a few fixes here and we're back to being good. Like, if they play this way, they're not going to beat anybody. I don't envision they'll play this way for 17 games, but I don't think it'll take 17 games for change to be made. Like you said, if this is what it looks like for the first month, no one's making it through the whole season. If this is what's going to look like. So just very concerning stuff. And unfortunately, yeah, you mentioned the injuries. James Daniels, our prized, offseason acquisition at offensive line, gets injured 4 plays into the game. So we don't even have an offensive line that's healthy enough to make it through one drive. We obviously had injuries piling up before this season even started, with, running back injuries, defense. We're losing corners every day, it felt like. So, yeah, it's just, I didn't have the highest hopes for the team heading into the year, but I would be lying if I said I expected them to go out there and get bludgeoned by the Colts in week 1, who the Colts are not supposed to be any good either. Like, this is a team that had as many, if not more, question marks than we did. And at least they answered some, I guess. But, man, it was really, really bad. What's your, like, temperature check overall on, like, McDaniel, Tua? Because I'm a big Tua guy. I've never seen him play as bad as he did yesterday. Like, I've never, even the biggest Tua haters in the world, I don't think that they even expected him to play that poor, because he's really never played that badly. I mean, usually he always has some moments. He has some really poor decisions sometimes, or he'll make some bad plays, take some bad sacks, throw some bad picks. That's fine, but he literally did nothing well yesterday, which is really concerning, because usually Tua always has some moments where it's like, okay, that's the guy that we paid a lot of money to. Like, usually he actually has he always has flashes every game where he plays well. Yesterday, he didn't play well at all. It was throws he missed, it was sacks he took. He just looked a little bit sped up. I don't know if that's because James Daniels went out 4 plays in, but either way, it was not looking good for anyone offensively. Still can't really run the ball. So what's overall your temperature check on whether it's McDaniel and Tua, or separate the two? Like, is it just maybe this marriage just isn't fixable at this point? We're now in year 4 of the McDaniel thing. Maybe it's just not fixable.
Yeah, I believe so. And like you said, there's just been questions all around this team. There's been questions around Tua for like the past couple of years now. The game that he had yesterday, I don't think it could get any worse than that.
That's
really.
rock bottom. Yeah, that's rock bottom.
Yeah, that's probably rock bottom. Yeah, so basically, I don't think a Tua game can get any worse than that. It's probably rock bottom. Like you said, it's still too early in the season. We only have one game to go off of. Like, let me see the next 2-3 games, see how it goes.
Right.
I know we play Buffalo early, like right now, week 3. The chances are pretty low to
slim.
even compete in that game, probably. But yeah, everything's gonna be based off. Also, in my opinion, everything's gonna be based off like the first 3 to 5 games to
First
see
month.
how
Yeah.
this.
Right.
Yeah, first month to see how this team does. If it keeps going like that, there's probably gonna be some firings, some serious talks. So we'll just see how the first month goes.
Yeah, they play New England next week at home. We usually always beat New England when we're at home
Yeah,
because it's usually early weather or early season. It's usually hot September, and New
yeah,
England usually can't handle it. Same thing when we go up there and it's cold in January, whatever.
yeah,
But usually we play them well in September at home. So if we lose to New England next week at home, I really can't envision a way where obviously then you have to turn around in week 3 and play Buffalo on Thursday in
yeah.
Buffalo. So if you don't beat New England this week, you're 0-3. I mean,
Right.
you can see the writing on the wall. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
you drop this one at home to New England where you should be able to beat them at home. Now you're like, okay, you're playing Buffalo is much better than you. You're probably going to be 0-3, and then you could probably see some changes get made because at
yeah,
0-3, it's very difficult. I don't think many teams at 0-3 ever make the playoffs. It's very slim when you put yourself in that big of a hole. Cincinnati put themselves in an 0-3 hole last year. They couldn't dig themselves out. It's very, very difficult to dig yourself out of an 0-3 hole. So this game on Sunday, basically just to preserve any kind of optimism for the fan base, you have to win this game on Sunday against the Patriots.
yeah,
But like we've been saying, the Colts were supposed to be a game that I think most Dolphins fans expected to at least win. Like against the Colts are not supposed to be any good. So I think most Dolphins fans that were not completely out on this team as far as like the bottom's going to fall out and they're going to be terrible. I think that we at least expected them to beat the Colts, which they couldn't even compete in. So that's really not a good sign at all. And it's funny, people kept asking me, it's like, well, who do you blame? What's the problem with the team? I think the overall
yeah.
problem is it's just that they're not that good. Like, I don't think I can point to one specific thing and be like, oh, well, if they made this one change, they would fix something and then the team would be good again. There's not really one specific thing that I can point to because I don't think it's like, oh, just fire McDaniel and then elevate some interim and then they'll be fine. I don't think that's at all fixing the team. And then some
No,
people are just
no.
like, yeah, some people are just like, oh, we'll just trade Tua and then start Quinn Ewers. I'm like, that's not fixing the team. Obviously not.
Yeah,
And then people are just saying, well, they got to do this, they got to do that. There's not really one fixable problem. Like they can trade Tyreek, get picks, they can restart this thing, but overall, there's nothing that's going to be. And unfortunately, Dolphins fans don't want to hear this, but there is no like one thing that will change this team, at least not now and not in the short term, which unfortunately is not what you want to hear. But it does feel like this window that we had, if you want to call it that, has run its course because in no way, shape, or form, if you were a playoff contender or if you were a fan of a team that believed they can win a playoff game, that they would start the season out with a humiliating loss to the Colts. That's not how anyone should want to start a season out. So overall, just very, very, alarming stuff, albeit in week 1. So yeah, so final thoughts here. It's like, where do the Dolphins go from here? They obviously got to beat New England, but what should we expect like going forward for the Dolphins this year? Because I don't think either of us expect them to look this bad for 17 games.
yeah. I would say I would still say like let's look at the first month, see how it goes. Um, there's gonna be questions probably this whole season. People have been calling for the firing of Chris Greer for like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
past 2 years now.
for sure.
Even to like sell the team, et
For Stephen
cetera,
Ross, and maybe Stephen Ross has stepped down as the owner, and then
for
maybe things will.
Stephen Ross.
Right, yeah,
Right, right. So we'll just see how like the first month plays out because it's been a while, you know. No playoff win in what
25
20 plus
years,
years.
25, yeah.
Um, we as as diehard fans want to see this team like successful at least once,
At
like
least
at least
once. We're
once.
not even asking for much here. We're just asking for,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm with you. But
we want to see this team succeed at least once, at least make a divisional game, a AFC game, something.
sure, anything more than a
Um,
wild card is all that we're asking
yeah,
at this point. We're not even asking for Super Bowl. I don't think that's ever once come out of any. We're not even asking for Super Bowl at this point. We just want to win a playoff game and maybe jumpstart some kind of success where there's just nothing that we can really see
yeah,
in the near future right now. So it is very unfortunate. Um, Maybe our mood will be different a week from now if we beat New England and we get to 1-1. But even then, it's going to be hard for me to because we always usually beat New England week 1. As I mentioned, early season we usually take care of the Patriots when it's hot. So even if
yeah,
we beat them, I won't be like fully tuned. I'm like, okay, we fixed it. Now we're back. We're back because that's something we are expected to do. We're supposed to beat New England. They went 4-13 last year. They're not a good football team. So if we want to be even like competitive, you should be able to beat New England. So even if we win that game, I'm not going to come up here and be like, all right, so here's how the Dolphins can be competitive this year and how everyone can keep their jobs. I'm not going to act like that because
yeah,
I just don't think
yeah,
that's really productive because I don't think any Dolphins fans wants to live in this purgatory of like 7, 8, 9 wins every year where you're not really knocking on the door of doing anything, but you're also not so bad to where you can restart everything either. It's kind of in that, that purgatory where you're kind of just average, and I don't want to be living in that area at all, obviously. But yeah, we'll see what happens this Sunday against the Patriots. Obviously, a huge game for a lot of players on the team. It can't be as bad as it was yesterday with the effort and the poor play from both offensively and no side of the ball played well, which is really, really strange. But yeah, we'll see how it goes next week. But I appreciate you hopping on the podcast and sharing your opinions on a disastrous.
I appreciate you having me anytime. Let's just see how let's take it week by week, with this team, see how it goes, and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll take it week by week. You can't look at it like a full picture at this point because week one is in the rearview. Yeah, week one's in the rearview mirror. So at this point, we'll just see if they can start stacking up better weeks than the first one. Yeah, but I appreciate you hopping on the podcast and giving us some time today. So I appreciate that.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Take care, man.